So let me quickly introduce myself, guys. I'm David Nosibor. I'm 30 years old. I'm a French guy. I'm passionate about basketball and Caribbean music. But anyway, I'm here to talk to you about sparking entrepreneurship in Asia and most specifically in a professional services firm. Let me quickly introduce you to the company I work for. Does everybody know Mazars here in the room? Mazars, is that familiar? Yes, you know Mazars? Okay, so actually we're a professional services firm, a global audit, accounting, and financial advisory services firm operating in 77 countries with 17,000 employees. And in Germany, maybe you heard of us recently with the merger with Rover-Brunner-Suzat, and we've actually merged with them to form Rover-Brunner-Suzat Mazars in Germany. Anyway, so I started to work at Mazars in 2011, and I was brought in there to work on social media. So my goal was to leverage social media for business development, thought leadership, and business development, as well as recruitment, yes. And thing is, I spent 2.5 years there at this role, and I decided to quit. I decided to quit because I needed a bit more thrill and challenge in my role and a bit more empowerment. What happened is my boss and the chief HR officer offered me a position at the end of the day 1 month after I quitted, and they wanted me to actually foster innovation in Asia and engage millennials. So they wanted me to engage millennials, that we can see on the right side, to bridge the divide with the guys on the left who are our management team. So you can see the clash in, in everything, the clash in everything. Anyway, so the goal was to actually engage these guys so that we could make their ideas emerge and make them develop their ideas. So that was just the brief that was given to me. But obviously I had more things in mind. I was like, okay, so we need to put them in touch with startups, and we're gonna run an intrapreneurship program. And I had so many things flowing in my mind. And I said, yes, I accept the job, even if I wanted to leave the company. So anyway, here I was, Singapore. So that was in July 2014. I got started on a job, and I wanted to actually get this mindset of being the captain 1 minute and pirate the next. I knew the company, so I could lead by example and say, okay, I know how Mazars works. This is the process, blah, blah, blah. But then I had to be a pirate also, and I still have to be a pirate, because you can't actually play always by the rules. Otherwise, you're not going to get anything done, and you cannot be in a position to change really the way things are done in a company, be it a different way to work, or be it maybe a process that needs to be optimized or completely disrupted. So that was the mindset all along. And what we did to get started on our innovation efforts was to launch an innovation challenge. This actually came out of a brainstorm that I had with my bosses, and I said, okay, why not launch an innovation challenge for our employees to actually share their ideas, and we would actually coach them to develop these ideas and make them a reality. And they said, okay, that sounds nice, but we should aim at doing something bigger, and maybe reach out to guys from the outside as well, and actually, make them contribute with their ideas and take this challenge globally instead of just regionally in Asia. So I said, you know what, it seems huge for just a single guy to handle, but okay, I'm gonna do it. So we came up with this innovation challenge, the Mazars Innovation Challenge, open to aspiring intrapreneurs and entrepreneurs from 20 to 30, okay, with ideas to change the way companies deal with employees, change the way companies deal with society, and change the way companies deal with clients. So that's 3 categories, and we had a $20,000 prize money for each winner of each category, with sub prizes for the second and third place. So we had 20 Mazars countries involved. We had an internal crowdfunding in order to make this campaign a reality. And we actually had an idea, a crowdsourcing platform to centralize all the ideas that were coming our way. So I was just thinking at the beginning that I would be working within the Asian region, but I ended up dealing with guys from Mexico, from the US, from Slovakia, and then from Hong Kong. So it was pretty challenging, but we made it happen. And that's also thanks to social media. And we actually use social media a lot for the teams to communicate about their ideas, because it's not, I mean, it's one thing to have a great idea. It's another to make it, to promote this idea and get the word out and get public support. I'll come back to that. So how teams applied to this challenge? They used what we call an idea canvas that was taken from, I took some inspiration from the lean canvas. So it was a very simplified version of it, because we didn't want to discourage anyone to participate in that venture. So in that challenge. So we had the purpose, problem, solution, impact boxes, and then they needed to develop some slides on each of these boxes. And we had a 90-second pitch video that was done by the teams. And we wanted the teams to actually push and promote this their videos, because we wanted them to get public support, and it was one of the criterion that we had for the selection of the ideas. So it was 30% for creativity, 30% for relevance, 20% for popularity, and another 20% for feasibility. So we had a jury coming from 4 different continents. We had experts in HR, innovation consultants, social enterprises, as well as entrepreneurs. So they were coming from Senegal, Singapore, Australia, Morocco, the US, France. So it was very multidisciplinary. And once we ended up selecting the finalists out of the first round, what we did, because I was not in a position to meet them, because we had teams from South Africa, from France, from Hong Kong, and from Greece, we had some Google Hangout sessions for interviews to get to know the teams and their motivations, how they met, the dynamics between each members. It's a bit like when you have an interview with a startup that tells a story and you get to know them. So that was the same exercise that we ran. And we also had Lean Canvas workshops with them. So we hosted 3 of those, and we had one session with 3 teams, another with 3, and another session with 4 teams. And we wanted them to actually not only discover the full Lean Canvas for them to fill in, but we also wanted them to exchange some feedback based on the assumptions that they had in their idea. And we thought it was a great way to get constructive feedback from teams that have been through this whole experience of ideating and coming up with assumptions. So we did that with our corporate learning department. We were supported with, I was supported with one of my colleagues who helped me run these Lean Canvas workshops. And what we asked in terms of new deliverables after all of this was not only an MVP and the customer interviews that were ran by the teams, but also a pitch deck along with a 3 to 5 minute new pitch video in which they would tell us a bit more about their final idea, because they were still constructing it, and how they would spend the prize money that we were going to give them, how they would be actually dealing with it. So in addition to what I showed you before, we had the teams meet with our local teams, not only in Hong Kong, but also in the US, in France, in Morocco, and in South Africa, because we wanted them to get some help in terms of setting up a structure, be it a social enterprise or a private limited, for example. And they were in a position to give them advice in accounting, what we do as a professional services firm. So in a sense, that was really a way to accompany and help these teams. So I would have liked to show you a video, but I'm not going to have the time. I'm just going to be telling you what we learned as lessons. We successfully engaged intrapreneurs from other firms. So thing is, we wanted to engage our own, but at the end of the day, we ended up realizing that it was more efficient from the outside, for the teams outside actually. And we had people from Accenture, from Orange, from plenty of companies that actually applied and said, you know what, Mazars is doing a great thing, because we're not in a position to do that in our own company, but you let us do that. So in terms of, even branding and then an effort to just foster innovation, that was great for us from an outsider perspective. The country coordination was of course challenging, because I had to coordinate the whole thing across 20 countries. And thing is, I wished I had more time and that I was in a position to meet the teams face to face, because it was always through online communication, Skype, Hangout, and even if the teams over there met with them, I wish I could have sat down and actually go through the canvas in live, live and direct, and have several more sessions, because we had a tight calendar to go by. So not only that, but then I realized that this was actually a huge challenge to embark our staff from Asia, in Asia. We had some participants coming from India, Indonesia, and Malaysia, but they were from outside the company. And thing is, we just had one team in Singapore apply for the competition. And I was in Singapore, and I wasn't, I was nonstop promoting about this thing and about the challenge. Yeah, here's what you do, here's how you can do it. They wouldn't do it. And I'm like, why? I don't understand. It's like there's something wrong. And that's when I learned about some hurdles that you have to take into account in Asia. And one of them is saving face, or being afraid of losing face. Are you familiar with that term? Yeah, losing face. In Asia, it's a big deal, because basically people will do everything to avoid being humiliated and avoid saying that they don't know or that they were wrong. It's something that they cannot deal with. So actually, to have them come up with an idea and take the risk to have this idea shot up in the air, it's like it's a no-go, at least in our firm. Then afterwards, you have the respect for hierarchy, which is enormous in Asia. It's like, I'm not going to stand up to my boss, so I'm not going to come up with an idea that's going to reinvent the whole thing. They get scared. So you have this to take into account. And then let's not forget that I work in professional services. So there's the risk aversion aspect of it. And what you have to know is that, what you have to know, you already know it. Professional services, it's about profits and losses, but it's more about profits than losses, right? So not only for the clients, but especially for themselves. So that's why it's getting a bit problematic when you combine all these reasons to foster innovation. So we had to refocus on Asia, and I'm going to be quick because I know that I'm getting over time. How we wanted to get started on the innovation efforts in Asia was to organize the company-wide hackathon in the beginning, and I wanted to have my guys from Mazars working with coders and developers in the same room for 3 days. I wanted to have that. I wanted to have the problems identified by the partners and actually give these problems identified to the crowd so that they could start working on something, on solutions that would be digitized and benefiting the business. But then it was too ambitious, it was too costly, and I didn't get enough support. So I ended up being denied with that idea that I had in mind. But then I was like, okay, you need to find something else. You need to pivot. You're an intrapreneur. Come on, you're gonna end up on your feet again, and you're gonna pick it up and run. So what did we do? We had a partner that had an idea, a business idea that he wanted to test. He wanted to test a cloud accounting service that we would provide to startups and SMEs. And he's like, you know what? I have this idea in mind, but I'm not sure if that's going to work. I have some ideas about the pricing, but I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, it's out there. I don't know what to do with it. And I'm like, you know what? Let's offer some people from the staff to work on your idea and to validate the hypothesis that you may have in the beginning. And then they will, we're going to run a lean launchpad class for 8 weeks and have them work outside the office every Friday to actually validate the hypothesis that you had in the beginning. So let's work like that, and we'll see whether there's a problem solution fit and whether people would be interested in that cloud accounting service, okay? So what we did, and again, I'm not gonna have the time to show the video, but we did a pitch video that we introduced and that we showed to the employees during the retreat, explaining what the project, what the idea of the partner was about, and we were asking them to actually apply for this program, for this 8-week program, and that basically they would be mentored and guided, and that I would be the lean startup coach, trying to help them to work on the business model canvas every week and validate the idea. So we showed them the video, and we had 5 people that we selected because they actually wrote their motivations and like a cover letter and how they felt they were up to the challenge for this. And we had this program of introducing them to the business model, the different business models, what is a startup, the customer validation process, and all the boxes of the business model canvas. So that's what we ended up doing. And at the end of these 8 weeks, we had a demo day with the MVP that was shown to the partner, along with a demo of the mock-up they prepared, like how the platform would be actually working. So each week, the team had to, watch some videos that I would give them. They had to talk to at least 7 customers to validate, to go through the customer validation process. They had to write their customer discovery on a blog, on Evernote, because we all had a Evernote shared among one another. And then they had to present a weekly presentation with the latest version of the business model canvas that they worked on, along with the lessons learned with the customer discovery on the topic that was talked about at the end of the previous week. So this is what they had to do each week. And remember, they were working outside the office every Friday at a partnering incubator, Impact Hub, because we really wanted them to get outside of the regular thinking of a professional services firm. So the lessons I learned, I got involved in a business I had no knowledge about, because at the end of the day, even if we selected the 5 guys to work on this idea, they were lacking a bit of direction, and I needed to really step in and make an effort to really be interested in a cloud accounting service, what the clients would like, et cetera, et cetera. So I really dove into that project. I think that for the future sessions, we would get some managers involved within the participants that are allowed to participate in the program, because my partner wanted to have just assistants to seniors participating in it, but then the lack of manager felt like they weren't in a position to, there wasn't someone in the team willing to drive this thing up, so maybe that's something to take into account for the next time. And obviously the program was a bit too short, because 8 weeks to come up with an MVP, and I guess we would have needed maybe 12 weeks to come up with a high fidelity MVP instead of a low fidelity MVP like we did at the end of these 8 weeks. But at the end of the day, the partner was pretty satisfied with the results, and we're currently working on the high fidelity MVP. And what we did was set up a hot desk at the incubator we worked at, the Impact Hub, with some financial mentoring sessions for startups. So actually, this thing is huge, because this is basically the customer discovery process that keeps on going. We keep on talking to startups to identify what they really want and whether our service at the end of the day would be a good fit for their needs. So the customer discovery keeps on going, and we're about to open this hot desk on June 1st. And then, obviously, we would like to relaunch this lab company-wide, not only in Singapore, but also I have people interested in this in other entities, in Germany, in the UK, in Canada, in Spain, and Italy. So it's actually gained some traction and interest. And I think down the road, as a lesson to be learned for these kind of efforts, this format of intrapreneurship program, Innovation Lab, is more likely to boost innovation and then create some partnerships with startups, because we put the team in contact with some startups that could actually help them have their idea come to reality. We think that's a better format than the Innovation Challenge that we launched previously to kickstart the efforts. So the Innovation Challenge was, at the end of the day, a great branding exercise for Mazars and helped us support entrepreneurship, but from the outside, for external entrepreneurs. And then this Innovation Lab was a good way to actually foster intrapreneurship, because we were in a position to show some employees that had no knowledge about startups or how they work at all. We were able to show them the value of knowing that. So yeah, conclusion, even more support and coaching for the staff to become entrepreneur in Asia, especially in Asia. Buy-in from internal sponsors, that goes without saying because it's not becoming a reality otherwise. And have your entrepreneurs work outside the office. To me, it's just a it's just a given, because otherwise they're just going to be ending up working on their usual stuff and not get any progress and not talk to other startups, other entrepreneurs, and learn from the mistakes that they did, and so on and so on. Thank you, guys. I hope this was